Small business is about courage, risk-taking, independence, and we small business owners are survivors. Everybody has an idea for a business, but how do you take that idea from mind to market? This is the place to learn.
Small Business School with Hattie Bryant.
It's a new kind of school. Together we'll learn about business from the inside out, from the people who've done it. We'll meet the men and women who are today's pioneers and quiet heroes. Their lives are the textbooks. Our classroom is the world. Hi, I'm Hattie Bryant. If you want to learn how to start, run, and grow a business, stay with us for the next 30 minutes. Howard Kent has 30 years of experience you can learn from. Every week here at Small Business School, we give you the opportunity to learn from a small business owner who is succeeding at running a business, and we call what you are now going to experience a master class. A master class is led by a pro, and the pros you can really learn from are those who are not just talking about business, they are building one.
Well, this is the Ironbound section of Newark, which is bound by the Erie, Lackawanna, and Penn Central Railroads back to the Hudson River. So that area of Newark was referred to as the Ironbound section of Newark. It's an ethnic community now, the largest concentration of Portuguese people this side of Portugal. They pride themselves in taking care of the community. On the street we're in is all residential, and our buildings fit in between them, so we have to be a friendly neighbor.
So you didn't name your business Ironbound Supply because it's iron you're selling?
No, we weren't very unique in deciding to pick what name.
When you see this, it's normal to assume that Howard Kent is in the plumbing business.
If I walked up to you at a cocktail party and I didn't know you and I said, well, gee, Howard, what do you do? What would you say to me?
What do I do? I say I sell industrial pipe valves and fittings. For 15 years, my wife says he owns a plumbing supply. And I said, plumbing supply? We don't handle anything in plumbing. But she couldn't associate pipe valves and fittings with an industry or anything, so she'd say, my husband's a plumber. He has a plumbing supply, so.
You said for 15. Did it have you convinced her now?
I don't know if I convinced her, but she says now he owns an industrial pipe valve and fitting supply house. Isn't that correct? That's what she'll say. You can't build any type of a structure without needing pipe valves and fittings to do it.
Were you selling this product 30 years ago?
Not only this product, but the exact same product. Copper tubing, steel pipe, plastic pipe has not changed at all in 30, 35, 40 years, 50 years. It's the exact same dimensions, it's made from the same alloys, better technology of manufacturing the item today, but the item itself is the exact same thing. The only thing we do different today is how we track the movement of the inventory. How do we track how much we have in stock or how little, or who we sold it to, when's the last time we sold it. That we're able to track very quickly.
Tell me how this all started 30 years ago.
Well, my father-in-law, who is still in business, he was a big heating and air conditioning contractor, and he decided to maximize his profit. He would like to buy direct from the manufacturers. Well, they wouldn't sell a contractor direct. They'd only sell supply houses direct. So he said, okay, he'll open up a supply house. And I was working for a corn products company at the time. And lo and behold, after a year, I became the Eastern Regional Data Processing Manager for corn products. And I was looking to leave. My father-in-law said, I started this business. Someday this may be yours. You should learn something about it. And I said, okay. I left there and I came to work for what I thought was like the old-time country store. There was no pots and pans hanging from the ceiling, but pipe fittings and valves and everything else didn't seem to be a very elaborate way to make a living. And we only had one customer at the time, which was his own company, was selling to the family. Had no inventory, so to speak, no trucks, no equipment. So we had one customer, and little by little we started to look for other customers and found out that there's a need for these items, and found out it's a very profitable field to be in. And then through the years, as things evolved, we ended up picking up more products and more lines, and a lot of customers. My father-in-law is a customer today. They're still in business. He's still running the business. He's now 80 years old. Wow. So that means that business has been successful for over 55 years in business. And many things have changed through the years, yet our community here in the Ironbound is the same, and I'm still selling the same pipe, valves, and fittings that I did 30-some years ago. It's just the way that we keep track of it and look for that business that has changed. The marketing of it has changed. One of the major reasons that I did leave, being 23, 24 at the time, and I was 25, being married, and my wife was pregnant at the time, was I had to think of my livelihood for the future. But I did find, coming into the archaic business, that it was very profitable, and you could make money. And that within 2 years, 3 years, I could be making more money than I could have for a big corporation, going up the corporate ladder and having a lot of people to answer to, where here I only had to answer to myself. So I decided if I put forth the effort, let's see what happens. And after 1 year, I was firmly convinced that this is something I thoroughly enjoyed because it wasn't work. Although I would get in at 7 in the morning and leave 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, and that was 6 days a week. But the rewards were for my family, because we got the financial rewards, and I was getting the pride, the fulfillment, the things that you can't measure in dollars and cents besides the money on the bottom line. So I was very happy that I made that career move. 10 years went by, and I had built the business up to, we had a lot of customers, a lot of inventory, had employees, and went to my father-in-law and say, geez, Dad, you know, you own the business, and I'm just your son-in-law. How about selling me the business? At first, he was adverse to it, and we made an arrangement, and I bought the business from him. And at that point, I really felt a sense of pride, because now I'm 35 years old and going to buy the business over a 10-year period of time from him. So by the time I'm 45, I'll fully own the business. And it's up to me to make sure that during that 10-year period of time it's successful, because I got to support my family. But I also have to pay off my obligation of paying back the loan.
So he carried the finance. I mean, he financed
Right.
it. He carried the paper.
This building has got to be over 100 years old.
Even though he left a job in a big company behind, Howard has always looked for ways to treat his small business like a big business, especially when it comes to technology.
Well, I used the technology when we first went in business to try to get rid of writing an order on a piece of paper and a pad, try to get that automated as much as possible, because being the only employee, I wanted to be able to do as much as I could, as quickly as possibly, as efficiently as possible. So I looked to technology, small computer, whatever, to aid me to do it that much faster. One of the major changes that we did after selling the same commodities, which I said many times, pipe, valves, things, they're the same for 30 years. The only thing that's changed on that is the marketing of it. Years ago, we still sold it one-on-one, face-to-face, a piece of pipe, you're putting up a building, fine. But with the advents of computers and advents of telemarketing, we can now find out how much we have in stock instantly, how much did we sell of this item year to date, this year, last year, are we increasing our sales of this, decreasing our sales of it, what's the cost? Keep track of it any way we want. We can tell when a customer last bought it, how much did they buy, how much did we make from them? When did they use this item? Is it a seasonal item? This has enabled us to cut our inventory by a third, increase our delivery time, turnaround time to a customer, getting them the material that much quicker, that much more efficiently, and yet decrease our inventory, so put that money to work someplace else. Through the advent of the computer, we do telemarketing, faxing out to customers nightly by SIC codes. Not selling the material, just letting them know who we are and what we have to offer.
One SIC code gets XYZ message, another SIC code gets ABC message,
Correct.
and it's faxed to them
Right.
overnight at a
Overnight.
low rate.
Low rate.
And your machine does that for you.
Machine does it all for us. So overnight we've contacted 200 customers for about $15. The next day we have a receipt saying that it was either received or it wasn't received. You know, a fax was read, and you've reached a couple hundred customers or potential customers overnight.
So you've tracked that and you know you're getting business from it.
There's no without question. We've got good responses from it. Customers either say, we need your services, send a salesman, or in many cases it's led to an on-the-spot order where they need the services immediately. We can turn it around and do it for them, and we've got the order. So that is something that a couple years ago was not available to us. And now with the technology advances that we've had in the last 5, 6, 7 years in PC computers, it's unbelievable. They can put the cost of any small business owner now can buy a PC for $1,200 to $2,500. That's enough to help him run his business, and then get some software in there and program and custom tailor it so he can keep track of his business very quickly.
Howard Kent has been selling the exact same products for 30 years. Yes, he's added some new bells and whistles, but basically, the pipe, valve, and fitting business hasn't changed much. What has changed is the way he sells. His infrastructure is a small but powerful computer. He and his salespeople use technology to stay on top of customers and prospects and even anticipate their needs. For example, for years, he used the computer to send out hundreds of faxes every night. Each customer's buying history and their fax numbers were entered into the system, and the computer knew who should receive what messages and when. Doing millions in sales isn't easy, even if you've been in business for 30 years. Ironbound has been on the internet since 1996, and we learned from Howard that you don't have to sell everything online that you sell offline. He leads with his computer-actuated valves, and by the way, you won't see copper pipe on the site. Howard says his customers are slow to purchase from the web, but when more want to buy electronically, he's ready. In fact, we need to be ahead of customers, but not too far ahead. Learn from Howard. The right technology at the right time improves sales and service and lightens the load for employees.
A website would be good if you had a total unique item that you would like to sell. Then you get a website. But if you just want to say, I have a website, and look at yourself up there, it's not going to do anything for your business. Because if you're selling a toilet, a white toilet, and you look on the web, there's 5 million people selling white toilets. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking for a specific brand and a specific color that's very unique, now something like that on the web can bring a buyer right to you.
The business community loves our show. One owner says you're motivating, informative, and inspiring. Another calls us insightful. One says it does my soul good. Another thinks we are the true reality show. And we're called the best business educational show on television. Want to learn more? Join the thousands of small business owners who are making a difference and add your voice to our story. Visit us online at smallbusinessschool.org. In Howard Kent, I found a man who has balanced high tech with high touch. Technology is important, but he still believes that the people in the company are its most valued asset.
You have to bring people in to help you make it grow because you can't do it all yourself. Mm-hmm. You've got to be able to relinquish control so that the employees in 10 are running the business. If not, your business always stays small because you've got to be the chief cook and bottle washer and have such a tight control, you prevent other people from doing their thing, and the business doesn't grow.
So why do you think people don't teach the employees that they hire what the employee needs to know to be successful?
I think it's because the fear if they teach them too much and they're too good a teacher, they'll leave and go down the street, start their own business, or go to work for their competition, who may be bigger, and ends up putting them out of business. Mm-hmm. You've got to have a feel with that employee that you're living with someone basically all day long. You spend probably more time with them at work than you do with your family, mm-hmm. at least awake hours anyhow. Mm-hmm. And after a while, you know what their motivation and what their goals are.
You do?
Well, you hope to
okay.
by communicating with them as far as where do they want to be 5 years from now? What would they like to do? If you make it, share it. Because the more your employees working for you see you're successful, the business is successful, they want to be successful. But if you're successful, you're making the money, and they come to you, ask for a raise, and you say, no way, I can't afford it when you can, or you don't want to give it to them, you get resentment. Mm-hmm. I always say it's like a cogs on a wheel. Everyone in a small business has to be pulling their own load and be happy in what you're doing, working together. Can't have one person pulling the oar in the opposite direction. This is Scott Gross. He's our Vice President for Ironbound Valve Actuation, or Actuation Division. And
Howard is not resting on laurels. He has started a whole new company with an 18-year Ironbound veteran at the helm.
Okay, Scott, can you explain what is an actuated valve?
An actuated valve. Basically what we're looking at.
Okay, when I hired Scott, Scott was 17, 18 at the
This is a
time.
valve with a pneumatic actuator on the top.
This is the valve.
This is the valve, this is the actuator.
His brother Don was working here, working the counter, and I needed a driver. And he was legal age. He came in, he started driving. From driving, he was aggressive. He came in and he started working the counter, and after working the counter for a couple of years, we brought him on inside sales, and from inside sales, he started to learn about the computer system and started doing computer input and data entry. And then from there, he was working in the office as the office manager, and then finally to the vice president. And very, very competent, hard worker, is in early in the morning, stays late at night, does work on the weekends, because he feels he has to do these things to make a good salary for his family and to help the business survive against the big corporations that are out there. That's our competitors.
Mm-hmm. And Don's been with you?
Don was with us about a year before Scott. Don's our outside sales manager. And he's been calling on contractors, industrials, commercial accounts, hospitals, and every type of account in New Jersey and New York for the last 18 years.
What this component does with a supply of air pressure turns a rotation of the piston within the actuator, which opens and closes this valve.
We're just replacing the man with the hand wheel or the lever who would say, open the valve because I want so much flow, and he opens it and says, hold it, that's far enough, and now close the valve. Well, we can do the exact same thing with an actuated valve, much, much more accurately, cheaply. It works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, very inexpensive, and there's no hidden payroll costs for it. And hopefully this will continue to grow as fast as it's been growing for us. Plan your work and work your plan. So that if you plan to do something, how are you going to do it? You have to implement it. So if you plan it and then you work at your plan, when you do succeed, it's not by chance, it's not by luck, it's just that you followed your game plan. And it takes a lot of discipline to follow through on it. You make a lot of mistakes. You may go ahead and think what you're doing is correct, and only to find out you've dead-ended yourself and it cost you a lot of money, but you hope to learn by that discipline. I mean, I've been in business for 30 years, besides being older. If I went in business today, the only advantage I'd have is all the acquired knowledge I have today over then, so I know I could be successful today because of the acquired knowledge.
And that knowledge came from failure some.
Oh, a lot of failure.
Talk to me about some of those mistakes. You know, you're in this core business. Have you wavered off? Have you tried other things that failed?
Oh yeah, I remember years ago, a friend of mine that's in the insurance business decided we play tennis all the time recreationally, that we would make a training device for tennis, and it was a PVC frame that you hit through. It was just like a picture window on stilts. And we decided to market it. We got endorsements by major tennis corporations, and major tennis players had used it. Made friends with Arthur Ashe, Billie Jean King, Colin Dibley. They had hit through our trainer, they'd used it, we got endorsements by it. We became the world's largest manufacturer of an Encore training device, only because we were the only manufacturer. And after 2 or 3 years of doing this, we realized we made a lot of friends, had a lot of fun, and we're enjoying what we're doing. We're not making any money.
Uh-oh.
We're losing money. The bottom line, each year we're putting money into this. And finally I said, I can't enjoy this hobby anymore, because that's really what it came down to be, because it wasn't a business paying itself for itself. And most businesses either succeed or fail within the first 3 years. First year particularly, we had the financial resources to keep it going. But we figured, okay, that's enough. I turned my stock and everything over to my partner for $1. He inherited the business. He kept it for 2 years, and then he sold his end of it, and we're out of business. But like I said before, if you don't try something, you don't know, and you can't be afraid to fail. You got a niche, and I guess that's the biggest success of small businesses. They have to have a niche market, know what the niche is, know what the market is, and then work at it. But don't get jealous when you start to see your business grow, that this other guy's got a bigger business growing faster, and it's a different market you know nothing about, but it sounds good, so you get into it, and then 2 years from later, you're selling your business for $1.
Do we have to tell ourselves that maybe if I'm in pipe, that tennis isn't my game as a business, or get used to the idea that if you switch over to that industry, in this case tennis, it could take 15 years to get in that where you got with this?
Well, I would say the key to that, Hattie, was the fact that we went into the tennis business on a part-time basis. And you cannot make a small business succeed doing it part-time. If we would have put both of our efforts into it 100% of the time, as full-time as we did, I have no question at all that we would have made it into a profitable business. Now, profitable enough that we can enjoy the same standard of living we have now, I doubt it. But we didn't. We gave it part-time service, and we were hoping that it would succeed. And because we couldn't give it the time and effort that it needed to nurture it and develop it and handle it properly, well, it's out of business.
Okay, so all these infomercials on TV about get started in business part-time, work from home for a few hours a day, you'll get rich. What do you think?
I think that's somebody having a business looking to get people to work for them part-time without paying a full-time employee, and after 6 months when you find out it didn't pan out, you no longer work for them, and they find enough of those people, they got free employees. Because how many of those people started those little one-home operations today have their own businesses? I have a lot of friends of mine that tried it, and I know for a fact not one of them ever succeeded. A motivational speaker came forward and said, look, close your eyes, relax, let your arms go at your side, and I want everybody to raise your arm above your head as far as you can. Stretch it out. Okay, relax, bring it down to your side. It's easy enough. Go ahead, do the same thing, only this time try to give me an extra 1/4 of an inch. And you reach up, put it to your side. Okay, now do the same thing one more time, put your arm up, and try to give me an extra foot. Can't do it.
It's not there.
It's not there. It's impossible. I can't raise my foot. The mind rejects the idea and gives up completely. But by saying, give me an extra 1/4 of an inch, the mind will accept that challenge, and therefore you will try to do it. So in business, I would say we have to try the extra 1/4 of an inch, and I've been doing that years with my employees. I just want a little bit more from you. The beginning of the year, everyone comes and says, we want to raise. It's next year. Thank you, that's right. So the small business is going to say, fine, what do you want? 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%, what are we going to get for a raise? Are you going to be 5% more efficient for me this year? Are you going to be worth 5% more to me this year? Why should I pay you more? If my sales stay the same and my profitability stays the same, I just lost money paying you a raise. I don't want to do that. How can we do it? So each employee has got to reach inside and say, I have to try for that little 1/4 of an inch today, 1/4 of an inch tomorrow. Every day when they come to work, they've got to be properly motivated to try to do the same things you do. You may be motivated in what you want to do, but if you can't motivate the employees working for you also to do it, you can't be successful. You all have to be on the same wheel. Yeah, you have to say to them, we're all working together. And you got to lead them and show them that you're willing to work hard and you appreciate their work, and everybody works together.
And that you're the one demonstrating first and showing that you're stretching for the 1/4 inch first.
Well, that goes without saying. If I would expect them to do more work and work harder or be more efficient, and then I'm slacking off and I'm not doing it, then they say, why should we do it? We're just making money for him and I'm not the one doing it. So you can't slack. You're forced to continue to stay on guard even when you don't want to, only because the employees expect that from you.
See? Achieving a difficult goal is doable if we discipline ourselves to stretch for it just a little every day. See you next time.
Small Business School with Hattie Bryant.
If you want to learn more about starting, running, and growing a business, come to our website, smallbusinessschool.org. There's streaming video and interactive study guides.
The only way we can compete with big business is to be faster, smarter, and better. We are the engine of the American economy. We create the jobs. Small business is about big commitment. It's about sacrifice and struggle. But we do it because we say, if I don't do this, my life won't